I spent most of my career in New York. And then I think in 2016, I started spending about half the year out here in LA. And I felt very, a little bit, not lost, but the word is like, I was nervous, I guess, because I'd spent so many years like developing relationships in New York, getting to know theater, and that was really my world. And so when I got out here and spending more time here, I was actually quite nervous because I just didn't know I knew the big theaters like the Mark Taper and the Geffen and stuff like that. I didn't know all the sort of cool indie theaters or smaller theaters. And so I was kind of just looking on Facebook. I was looking at friends, who are out here and what they were doing. So I was basically like doing that thing you do at the beginning of your career, was look at people's bios. And, a lot of writers who I respect had been through there. And then coincidentally at the same time, Jennifer Chambers from the Echo, who was running the lab in 2016, emailed me almost out of the blue and was like, hey, I've heard from some fellow playwrights that you're now out here, and like, I read your writing, I really like it, would you want to be part of the lab? So I did a year, I think in 2016 in the Echo Theater Lab. And it was, some writers I knew from New York, like Janine Neighbors and Becca Brunstetter, and then some new writers like Bonnie Alfred, who I didn't know yet, but, love. So that's how I got involved. And then, what's cool about the Echo also is that, like, even though it was just the 1 year and you get to do the Lab Fest, and, Jennifer was pretty clear, like, I hope you all consider Echo your artistic home now. You are a resident writer here. So what I really value about them is, they're playwright driven, but also like, it feels like once you're in this family, you're in the family. When Chris called me up for this project, didn't feel like, oh, the theater's approach me. It felt like, oh, cool, like one of my artistic homes. I feel like theaters that have labs for writers or writing groups, whatever they call it, I think one thing that I really notice talking to playwrights out here, especially ones that are busy doing TV or film, whatever, how much they miss being in the room with other playwrights. And it's just something that's so valuable. Like, so to meet regularly and just have colleagues of yours comment on your work, is inspiring, but also like you learn a lot. You learn a lot just from being around and watching their process. Even if their plays are totally different from your plays, there's just something about it. Like I remember just reading, or hearing this epic play Bonnie was working on in the lab, and it was like, let's say it was a 3-act. It was at least like a 3-hour piece. And normally, like, that would just scare me, but like the way he was working on it, the way he was developing it, was just fascinating to me, and it made me almost like, I'm always scared that the play's going to be too long, or like the audience is going to get, it's a commitment for them. But he just had no fear of it. And so I remember just being very inspired and hearing like, okay, maybe I can think about these larger scope projects and not be scared, like, that the theater's going to look at it and be like, whoa, we can't do this. But it was inspiring to see someone be like, I'm doing a 3-hour. That's what this story needs. It was necessary, but then also, I remember his lab reading was glorious. It was fascinating, and sort of like, it didn't feel like 3 hours.